Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com with your Hurricane Pro in HD video blog for Tuesday, the 31st of May, 2016. A lot to talk about today, so let's jump right in. First stop, a look at the sea surface temperature anomalies for today. Now we can call it yesterday. This is when the map came out. These are updated every Monday and Thursday from the NOAA NESDIS site, as we call it. We see the blue growing here in the Pacific along the equatorial region. That is the coming La Nina. I find it interesting that we do have this colder water here to the south and west of the Baja. Still pretty warm here along the southeastern Pacific. And of course the main development region between the Cape Verde Islands and the Lesser Antilles. All of this area through here remaining quite a bit warmer than we're used to seeing and quite a bit colder than normal up here in even areas off the map. This is where the monsters are, right? Remember those old world maps? The edge of the map is where the monsters were. Well, in this case, it's where the cold water lies. The rest of the Atlantic running quite a bit above the long-term average, as you can see. So it'll be interesting to see what the hurricane forecast update for the season will be from Dr. Phil Klotzbach and his team at Colorado State University. I consider them to be the world leader in hurricane seasonal prediction. They have done the most research over the past several decades, going back to 1984. And, you know, they win some, they lose some, but you have to start somewhere. This is what it looked like last year for those of you keeping score at home. Yeah, we had a very strong El Nino coming on, a very cold Atlantic look last year, and things are very different, as you can tell, this year as we start to transition more towards a La Nina pattern, fueled in part and pretty much in whole by this very cold water in the subsurface of the Pacific. Now you're talking about, about 90 degrees longitude here, all the way over to about 150 degrees east longitude. So a huge expanse of the Pacific Ocean subsurface is dominated by this very cold anomaly of water, with only one area, a small little island of heat left. This is the surface up here at the top. We're at around the 180 degree longitude, or the date line. So very cold water waiting to come to the surface, probably going to be around for a couple of years, and that's going to have a lot of implications on global weather over the coming probably 12 to 20 months or so. So we shall see. All right, actual sea surface temperatures, if you're along the Gulf Coast states, pretty much everywhere along here is now 80 degrees or higher. 26 degrees Celsius, if you're looking at it from that standpoint. All the water temperatures in here, including the shelf waters, have warmed up. And even down here along parts of the Florida Keys, between there and the mainland, and then down in the southeast Gulf, water temperatures almost in the upper 80s. And they're warming also off the East Coast, not so much along the mid-Atlantic. I mean, yes, they're warming, but it just takes longer. It's still pretty chilly in my book. But from about Cape Hatteras, south and west from there, even along the shelf water and the beaches, water temperatures climbing into the mid to upper 70s, and it won't be long that they will be at the 80 degree mark. None of this really matters right now. We just keep an eye on it, see how things change over time. You can clearly see the Gulf Stream moving through. Really neat that we have these different products that we can track. And of course, when we have a hurricane cutting across, now let's just do this so we don't presume anything. When they cut across the Gulf Stream, they typically try to intensify. And we saw that with weak tropical storm Bonnie, with its limited environmental conditions favoring development. It moved across parts of the Gulf Stream down here, developed some deep convection, and lo and behold, it rained very hard on parts of South Carolina and Georgia along the I-95 corridor, leading to some massive headaches from traffic backups down there in the Ridgeland area and points north and south for over a dozen miles. That was a real problem this past weekend, and you can imagine with it being a big weekend for Memorial Day travel, oh, that must have been horrible. Looking at climatology for this time of year, well, starting tomorrow anyway, the first 10 days of the season in the Atlantic anyway. Remember, the East Pacific season started May the 15th, but nevertheless, this 10-day time frame that we're coming up upon, this is the region that we watch in the Western Hemisphere. You notice there's nothing out in the deep tropics and really nothing farther out to the west from the area kind of clustered around Mexico and Central America. This is sort of our sweet spot over the past 100 years or so for development, and this will eventually expand, and you'll see more red dots showing up here and out here and out here and wherever as the season goes on. About, 3 times a month I'll check out this. This goes every 10 days, so we'll visit this again after June the 10th. All right, in the Eastern Pacific, right on cue, in the area that I just showed you, we do have an area of interest. This is Invest Area 91E for East Pacific, and really not expecting much to become of it. This is the track forecast heading, and it's probably going to strengthen, but it's not going to affect land, is what I meant to say. I got ahead of myself. Not much becoming of it for land interest. Most of the guidance suggesting a west to west northwest track, and Mexico, for reference, would still be like way up here with the Baja like way off the map like that. So no worries there. Even if it does intensify, which it looks like it should, all of the available guidance shows it in an upward trend, and it won't surprise me if this becomes a hurricane. Let's go back here to this first. The large area of low pressure, generally speaking, it's a huge sort of envelope of energy, I like to call it, and I think once it consolidates in here somewhere and then begins moving on off to the west-northwest with time, it won't surprise me if it becomes a hurricane. So the good news is, again, it'll stay away from the Baja and mainland Mexico since it's going to be moving away from that area. Off the Carolina coast, the remnants of Bonnie, still enough convergence and upward motion in the atmosphere to create a little bit of enhanced shower and thunderstorm activity along the coast and points inland right here. You can see that on the radar out of Wilmington, North Carolina. A few dots of showers here over the Atlantic waters, but you notice there's not any good curved banding in here or anything like that, so this isn't trying to make a comeback, and I don't think it will. It's just going to take a couple of days for this to move up and out of the region. Until it does so, you folks along the Carolina and eventually in the southeast Virginia region might see a few periods of squally, kind of dark sky weather with a heavy rain burst, maybe some occasional lightning and thunder, but nothing that resembles a tropical storm in terms of wind and other impacts. Just kind of a gray day at the beach, and this will eventually move out. Temperatures will be on the rise this week, and the beaches will be wonderful. They're always wonderful, but they can be cloudy and kind of yucky like today. All right, so there you have it. Really not much else going on as the hurricane season progresses. Of course, again, the Atlantic season beginning tomorrow. You can look for these video blogs in Hurricane Pro and HD at least once a week, and then if we have something brewing that we need to talk about more often, I will do so as we need to. And then on field missions, when my team and I go out and we set up equipment in the hurricanes, be it live streaming unmanned camera systems or our weather stations, the whole project that we do, we call it the Hurricane Landfall Project. Internally, that's what we call it. And we set up all this equipment. We'll be doing video blogs for Hurricane Pro and HD on those missions as well, so you can keep up to date and sort of like a chronological diary of our progress. And then you can follow along anytime at hurricanetrack.com. So there you have it. All right, have a good rest of your Tuesday. As always, thanks for tuning in. I am Mark Sudduth for hurricanetrack.com and for Hurricane Pro and HD. I'll talk to you again tomorrow, the beginning of the Atlantic hurricane season.